I'd like to call to order the Administrative Committee meeting for December 14, 2018. And I would like to know if any of my colleagues have any concerns that they would like to discuss with this committee. Hearing none, we'll move to the agenda items. Travel. Mr. Nastri, do we have any travel that we need to take action on?
No, sir.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the governing board agenda? Then we'll move on to the approval of the staff assistants. I noticed that we have a couple here. Can you tell me who are hiring these people? Which one of our board members?
Dr. Burke, I don't think that we.
I have two. Oh, wrong. I'm sorry, wrong one. Those are people coming for Home Rule Advisory Group.
Uh-huh. Yes, the only one
So
that
we don't have any staff assistants?
No, Supervisor Hahn is waiting for committee assignments to determine her needs. And then she'll come back. Yeah.
Yes. I'll give her a call Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
And work that out with her. If you could ask Nancy, I think Nancy's in the room.
Yes.
I'll ask Nancy. There you are. Hi, Nancy. Would you send me a copy of the committee's assignments this afternoon, and I'll get it done this afternoon. Okay, moving on to 6.
Good morning, Dr. Burke.
Ms. Wynot?
Members of the committee. I wanted to give you an update on our succession planning efforts, and if we could get the slides up, please. So basically, we started under Wayne's leadership about 2 years ago, taking a serious look at our workforce and where we were. And at that time, about 2 years ago, we had almost half of our workforce was technically eligible to retire with years of age and years of service.
Yeah.
So we said we really need to start looking at this and planning for the personnel changes. And we have seen a lot of changes. So there's a lot of benefits for this. It helps you improve your promotional and transfer opportunities, makes your work more smooth. It helps you identify targeted and training needs so that you can enhance your performance not only today but going forward. And it leads to a stronger organization in a number of different ways. So the process, basically, John Olvera and I sat down with each of the senior team leaders, and we identified the likelihood of people in key positions to turn over in less than a year, maybe 1 to 2 years, or 2 to 5 years. And then we looked at, do we have the internal resources that are ready to assume those positions? And if not, what do we need to prepare people for that? And some positions we may need to go outside for, but we would like to promote from within whenever we can. So we've developed training, mentoring, and other experience for these people. For management and above, you could do sort of individual plans and work with them, and then anybody not in a management position, we offer general training that would enhance everybody. So we meet periodically. We've increased our training. We've all gone through harassment prevention. A lot of our staff has taken supervisory skills and other performance management classes. We've been much more flexible with internal staff transfers and cross-training. And our mentor program will kick off very early next year, so we're excited to get that going. And we've also had just a tremendous amount of turnover and retirement in the last 2 years. We average a little over 24 retirements a year generally, but in 2016 we had 28, 2017 close to 50, and we're going to be 38 to 40 by the end of this year. So an awful lot, and we still anticipate a large number of retirements. And so when people like Fred Manoukian leave, just the institutional knowledge is really hard to replace. So 2 years ago, we looked sort of at our workforce and how many people had more than 30 years of service, and it was about 11%. You saw at the last board meeting how many people we were recognizing, and that number has actually gone up, which seems counterintuitive, but those are the numbers. 13% of our workforce have 30 more years. And if you look at sort of the current status of who is technically eligible to retire, we went from 47% to 38%, so that's an improvement, but that's still a really high number and keeps me up at night sometimes. When you look at the years of service, this sort of just graphically shows the green. On the left, it's the fall 2 years ago, and it's end of August, so it's about 2 years period. You can see that we have less of the people with 35 to 40 years of service, a little bit more for the 30 to 34, and you can kind of see we're getting a little bit younger in terms of years of service, but it's not really switching rapidly. And when you look promotions, I think that's a great way in looking at the last 2 years of our progress. We've had 7 executive council, 12 management, and 54 supervisory level positions. So this is an organization where there's a lot of opportunities for advancement, and we've had an awful lot of advancement in all of the chemists, inspectors, engineers, and those other ranks. So a lot of opportunity for people. This is sort of the highlights of retirements in the last 2 years. General counsel, our CFO, a couple of ADOs have retired. And then on the right, you see promotions and new hires, new general counsel, new deputy and assistant deputy compliance enforcement. So lots of exciting changes. And we're looking forward to hiring a director of communications in the very near future. So I like to say on this slide, we're not out of the woods yet. We have a lot of work to continue to do. We're trying to fill our vacancies, do our mentoring and training and development, and we're going to continue to implement our individual development plans and our overall staff development, and we're monitoring and adjusting as best we can. So I'll be happy to answer questions if you have any.
Any questions for Ms. Wynot?
None here.
I have to say, this is very informative. This was a great report.
Thank you
You
very
know,
much.
it's staggering when you stop to think about the number of people that we are vulnerable to.
Yes.
It's incredible.
I didn't, Joe, I was like last meeting was the one who asked everyone to stand and was also very surprised to see the number of people that were in 30 years or more, exceedingly greater than probably any of the other groups at that point in time. The question that I have is that what is the strategic plan in order to mitigate this on a immediate basis? And I say an immediate basis in order to have seasoned people that will be able to move upward in some of these strategic positions. Because if you don't have the staff at the top in order to be able to train the people at the bottom in a scientific kind of environment, it really is kind of like bringing people in off of the street, if you want to say that, is really not the answer, because really we are kind of a unique institution that requires specialized kind of trained people. So what is our strategy long term in order to mitigate
So we're doing
issues?
a number of things. I think the most important thing is that this is a priority for the executive council. And so when we see that a position is likely to become vacant, and a lot of times at the upper levels, people tell you months in advance that they're going to be retiring or transitioning out.
That's because they start counting the Mondays.
They start counting those Mondays. They do. People can tell you to the hour how many more meetings they're going to have. So basically what we're doing is we're making sure that the people that work for them, they have one or more logical successors that are ready to compete and be ready for that job. And we're all trying to just provide more opportunities for people to get exposed to different things and to put them in situations where they're developing and they'll be ready to step in. We've also done a lot more of overlap. So, for example, when Fred Manasian left, Naveen Berry was promoted into that position, and they had a several-month overlap so that they could work side by side and then transfer as much of that institutional knowledge as well. So we're doing a number of things at all different levels. I think the mentorship program will be really key. And we're asking people to think about, if you are doing a job, what are you doing that the next person that does that job may not necessarily pick up? And so we're trying to have people document that, cross-train other people so that you don't have individuals in a job that if they are, if they get the flu for a week, that everything stops because they are the one person. So we're trying to look at this at multiple different levels and look at it, try and be as prepared as possible.
If I may add, just as a comment, having not many, but more assistant levels can also be very instrumental too in helping people to stay, as well as being able to be promoted to the higher positions. Just having one person ahead of a department or a section and not having any assistants really doesn't give people the upward mobility that they can see, that they can get from one level to another without having to jump from the bottom all the way to the top at one time. So just a suggestion.
Yeah. We actually have added a couple of assistant deputy level positions. We did for compliance and enforcement when we split that division. And it's something that I know our HR folks are looking at, sort of the chain and logical progression for people, their career paths, to make sure that we've got good steps for people at all the levels. So that's a very good point.
In keeping with that, though, we also need to keep in mind that the job's going to change over time with the technology shift. And so what we see as relevant positions at this moment may in fact in the future become less and less relevant. Because I could see the day where technology replaces all inspectors. I think that's not far away at all. So, all the cars and the clipboards and the computers and the people go by the wayside. But, okay. So no motion is required on that. Number 7, Ron?
Good morning, Dr. Burke, members of the committee. Ron Moskowitz, Chief Information Officer. Everything in the IT world is going pretty good. Our mobile app continues to add new users on a daily basis. Working with Derek and his team, we're implementing a new outreach marketing program that's aimed to significantly increase the downloads. We are developing the next enhancement for the Apple version, and the Android version will be ready in about 6 months. We went live with our online permitting system for gas stations and street booths with Lockheed. And we gave a demo to the permit streamlining task force subcommittee this week, and it was very well received. And lastly, we are in the process of procuring our required network equipment and licensing for Office 365, and are scheduled to go live by May 2019. Everything else is going pretty well, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ron?
Nope.
I have one.
Yes, sir.
I don't think there's a person in this building that doesn't think you're doing a great job, myself included. Okay? Help me out here, though. Don't we keep all of the contracts and their expiration date on computer?
We do have it on, yes, we do.
Yeah, because we had an incident. We're having a special admin committee meeting next week because we got a late delay. Well, I didn't get word about its expiration until late. How does that happen?
So there might be a process review that we need to study, but we do keep things electronically, something that we can look back to internally and come back to you with an answer.
Okay,
Dr. Burke?
I appreciate that.
If I may, I know that there's certain contracts that are probably more important to the agency, and we'll work with Ron to develop a notification that goes all the way up to myself and to Jill, so that we can flag those items early and make sure we don't have a lapse, even if it's a small lapse.
Okay, because, yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. I wouldn't see why all of our contracts wouldn't be on that, whether they were important or not, you know. That's just, would seem common sense to me. Okay, you need no motion, Ron, so we'll move you on to item number 8, which does take a motion.
Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Burke, members of the committee. This is a standard request to purchase telecommunication services for a period of 3 years. The telecommunication services are needed to run the district's business, including long distance and local and toll-free services, our internet access, phone system maintenance, and wireless voice and data. The funds are available in the budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions? Hearing none, may I get a motion?
Move approval?
I'll move the item. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Benoit,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
Dr. Burke,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item number 9.
Good morning, Dr. Burke, members of the committee. This action is to approve 4 vendors over a 2-year period to provide document conversion services to digitize paper documents. Funds for these services will be identified and approved as needed as specific projects are defined. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So is this to go back and digitize documents we have currently in paper form?
Exactly. We're trying to eliminate all the paper documents that we have at the district.
Okay. As far as once they're on the digital system, what's our backup capacity? And do we do an offsite backup? Do you have a tape that goes home somewhere? And how's that all set up?
So we have-
Disaster recovery.
It's a very good question because we have actually multiple levels of backup. We have not just backup disk to disk. So once information is put on a server, it actually gets backed up immediately. Then we take that backup as well and put that on tape. And then that tape actually goes out to an offsite storage.
As far as disaster recovery, if we had to evacuate the building here, do we have an offsite set up somewhere, or do we have a plan for that?
So if I could, Ron, I'd like to answer that. So, Mayor Benoit, part of what you're asking is, at the federal level, it's called the COOP, the Continuity of Operations Plan.
Yep.
And so we've actually developed and are almost done
Okay.
with our COOP plan, but that's been one of the issues with regards to the data backup and our ability to operate quickly from an emergency perspective. And Ron's been working on that. And Ron, you go ahead and explain the things that we've done in order to do that.
Right, so we do have, for instance, our Long Beach side, which we have the ability to put up, some of that information over there in case there is an emergency. And like I mentioned before, we do have offsite. We would need to have if we need more capacity, we would need to essentially have more equipment available. And in addition to that, we are moving from an IT perspective. We're starting to move our stuff to the cloud.
Sure.
So over the next few years, that's going to actually be part of our COOP plan.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're doing those things when we're moving everything digital. It's always good to make sure we have that good backup plan in place. I'm happy to hear that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Right.
What do we have, how many years of data do we keep? Are we going to plan to keep?
Depends on our record.
Yeah, we have a record retention that spans. We have a policy that spans anything from 2 years all the way up to the lifespan of the agency, the district. So it just really depends on what the retention plan is.
So you're saying that if we issued a permit back in 1972, we would have a copy of that permit still available
Yes,
along with the
that's correct.
documentation? How about large plans, 24 by 36 drawings? engineering drawings or whatever it may be of some of these plants or factories? Do we have those?
So if they're digitized and that's the retention schedule, we would keep it that long.
We keep some of those documents longer.
Yeah, and I'm sorry?
Some of the engineering stuff we keep longer than the retention fund. don't we?
Yeah,
The permits and associated documents with the permit application, we can practice for it.
Right.
Dr. Parker's wife would like for you to come over to his house. He's got a trunk full of stuff that she complains to me about all the time. So we need to get that digitized so that this guy can have a trunk in his car. He's going to trade his car in pretty soon, so we need to do it fairly rapidly. Okay.
we'll take care of you.
We need a motion on this?
I'll move approval.
Second?
Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Benoit,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
Dr. Burke.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Sunjata, where are you?
She's on her way. 5 steps. There she is.
Good morning, Dr. Bug,
Good morning.
members of the committee. Sujata Jain, Assistant Deputy Executive Officer of Finance. This item is to transfer from the undesignated general fund balance $2,063,229 to the Health Effects Research Fund. And this comes about because of the penalties money that's above $4 million, 20% of that. So be happy to answer any questions.
What when we transfer this money, what happens to it? It goes into the healthy, is there a request already for this money, or is it designated for some purpose already, or is it just going to sit there?
So for now, the money would sit there and it would accrue. However, we have 3 projects, I believe, and I'm looking for Dr. Gosh. We have 3 projects that are currently underway. We know, for instance, that Dr. Black is seeking additional funds to further extend that. So what we'll be doing is, once the funds are there, we're going to go back to the researchers and find out where they are with their overall status. If there are still funds that are left over, we would obviously come back to the committee and to the board and say that there are funds available for either additional research projects, or we would ask for new projects that are in line with the intent of the program.
Could you please ask the health effects officer to send me a one-pager on the status of those projects?
Yes, sir.
So that I kind of lose track. They kind of run together after a while. Okay?
May I ask you a question? This is an internal transfer. The individual extension or additions to these contracts will be becoming before the committees and the board subsequent time.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take a motion on that.
Actually, we have a public speaker on this item, Harvey Etter.
Oh, we do, okay. Mr. Eder?
There's 2.
Hello there. Hello there. I'm Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition. In reference to this and going back, I believe it was to last month's committee meeting of this committee.
That was my diabetic meter talking.
Oh, okay. Well, the issue came up about natural gas and toxicity, and I do believe I had some comments of support from the chair, from Dr. Burke, that natural gas should be studied for toxics. This hasn't been done. It must be done. It should have been done as part of the Aliso Canyon Porter Ranch study. For instance, I did see the benzene is a problem, and two years ago there was a meeting on the low-cost testers for air pollution. I'm pretty sure I saw a study there that said there were benzene 30 to 40 deaths per 100,000 premature deaths per year. So that number comes out to like 300 to 400. Anyway, you've got to get numbers for this. I brought up like formaldehyde is a carcinogen, toxic, and I know at one board meeting a year ago, and Dr. Burke wasn't aware of that. This has to be done, and it's at least negligent not to do it. I kind of adhere to a bit of a conspiracy theory here. Anyway, you know, we've beat this horse in the past. Do you have any questions?
I got it.
Yes.
Mr. Nastri, can
Yes,
you
sir.
have the health effects officer also include another one-page memo on Mr. Etter's comments and her view on how that, what he says?
Talk to you.
Sure.
And also include PM and ultrafines, etc. All right. Anything else? Thank you.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Etter.
That's all the public comment cards I have. With that, I'll move the item.
Yes.
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Burnett,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
Dr. Burke,
Aye.
motion passes 3-0.
Number 11.
Item number 11.
Thank you, Dr. Burke. This item is to execute a contract with the audit firm of Simpson & Simpson. This is for the biennial audit for the motor vehicle registration fee. It's for the 2 years, fiscal year 15-16 and 16-17. And the cost of the audit is going to be $100,980. It's going to be split up in 3 pieces. $4,560 will be borne by the general fund. The MSRC fund will pay $7,000, and the rest, $89,420, will be passed through to the cities that are going to be audited, cities and entities that are going to be audited. Happy to answer any questions on that.
Any questions?
None here.
May I have a motion?
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Burnett,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
Dr. Burke,
Aye.
motion passes 3-0.
Yes, that's it for you because Mr. Alvera comes into your seat.
Yes, good morning. Got my glasses. Good morning, Dr. Burke, members of the committee. The first item I have is item number 12. And based on an RFP process, this item is to request approval to enter into a contract with Santa Fe Building Maintenance for janitorial services for the district for a 3-year period from March 2019 through February 2022 for a total amount not to exceed $1.7 million. Santa Fe Building Maintenance has been providing janitorial services for the district since 2012. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Nope.
May I have a motion?
Move approval.
Move the item.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Burnett,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
Dr. Burke,
Aye.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item number 13 is to seek approval for several staff-related changes. The first one relates to the Career Development Intern Program, which provides transition-aged foster youth with on-the-job training. In September of this year, the board amended the job classification to allow assignments in the position to be extended for up to a 3-year period. The salary for this job classification is the same as it was when it was created in 2015, and with the addition of the availability of longer-term assignments, it is appropriate to provide wage growth on an annual basis similar to other AQMD job classifications. Therefore, the first part of this item is staff's recommendation to amend the Career Development Intern classification to establish 3 salary steps, which includes an increase to the current rate for the first year. The second part of the item is...
How much is the first year?
The first year will go from $15.28 an hour to $16 an hour.
Got it. Okay.
The second part of the item is staff's recommendation to adopt a new monitoring operations manager classification. This past month, the board approved funding for this position for the AB 617 program, and it's reporting to the Science and Technology Advancement Unit. However, a job classification wasn't adopted at that time, and therefore, in order to initiate the recruitment process for this position, staff is recommending adoption of the new classification. And finally, based on operational needs identified by the respective division, this item seeks to add a public affairs manager position and a senior information technology specialist position, and to delete a community relations manager position and an information technology specialist 2 position. Funding for all of these actions is included in the FY 2018-19 budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions by my colleagues?
I'm here.
Okay, then I will accept a motion.
Move the item.
Second?
I need a second. Second. Okay, will the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Benoit,
Aye.
Paul Parker,
Aye.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Fine? Dr. Fine?
So Dr. Fine is at the ARB board meeting today and isn't able to testify. So this is the listing of the Home Rule Advisory Group. And if you have any questions regarding that, just let us know.
I have the new members they're proposing. They look spectacular. Some of these people are really have great resume. I'll accept a motion on that.
Move approval?
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 15, Ms. Reese.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Burke, members of the committee. I'm here today to talk about our execution of contracts for incentive projects to get emission reductions. This is pursuant to an RFP process that we followed. So just for background, back in January, earlier this year, the board approved us to go ahead with an RFP to achieve emission reductions for NOx, PM, and VOC sources. This is for both mobile sources and stationary sources. We were approved for up to $61 million from a combination of different fund sources. Here we have the evaluation criteria that we use to provide the technical scores for the projects. We also had additional points for small businesses and other similar criteria. And then there were other considerations that we put into play. For example, if the project was instrumental in meeting some of our policy goals and other directions. I should mention at the outset of this, what I'm going to talk about are preliminary staff recommendations. We're certainly open to any discussion on these and to have some further direction from the board. This gives you the overview of the public process that we followed. We started out in January earlier this year with a bidders conference that attracted about 60 folks. We then followed that up with 5 different community meetings in February of 2018. Just general comments that we heard was to prioritize projects that would happen in environmental justice areas, to look at getting co-benefits with greenhouse gases, PM, and toxics. And I won't talk through the entire list, but it gives you an idea of what the general interest that we were getting in the communities. And this, again, gives some highlights from what we heard from the different areas that we went. So we went to Torrance, Wilmington, Buena Park, San Bernardino, and Riverside. And you can see that the interest that we get in the different communities line up with the types of issues that we are seeing. So, for example, in Torrance, we heard a lot about projects that might have some interaction with the ports, and also in Wilmington with the refineries. And so we kept that in consideration as we went through the process. To evaluate these proposals, so we received a total of 82 proposals. 1 proposal was withdrawn. 1 proposal we weren't able to read, and so we did not evaluate it. We broke down the proposals by whether they were stationary sources or mobile sources, and that kind of split it out more or less equally. And then we formed 4 different panels to go ahead and do the evaluation. So the panels based on whether it's a replacement, a repower, or a retrofit for both mobile and stationary sources. And then for separate panels for if they're technology demonstration projects or infrastructure projects. And so this gave us a way to be able to parse through. Of the 80 proposals we evaluated, it was a total requested funds for $309 million. So we were well subscribed. This gives you an idea of how we winnowed down to our final recommendations. I mentioned we started out with evaluating 80 proposals at $309 million requested funds. On the technical score basis, we used a 70% cutoff for technical score. So if proposals scored less than that, we did not further consider them. That brought us down to $200 million. Then we further evaluated the technical scores, looked through other considerations on the projects to see if they met with our overall policy goals, and we wound up with 25 projects for a total of funds of $47 million. So again, these are our preliminary recommendations, but we're looking to fund 25 out of those 56 qualifying proposals that we received. It would be approximately $47 million, with almost 2/3 of that going to stationary source projects. We would seek to reserve up to 6.25% for district administration. And then there would be, as you know, we were originally approved for up to $61 million to be allocated this RFP. There would be some funds remaining, and we are looking to reserve that to expand or continue implementation of awarded projects or other future projects for the remaining funds. This gives you a breakdown of what the projects look like for a stationary source, and this is a breakdown both by funding amounts and then also by the number of recommended projects. And you can see the different categories. This is, again, stationary sources, so substantial investment for residential retrofits and replacements. Fuel cell microgrids. We also have projects on flare minimization. Under the technology demonstration category, a big chunk on commercial cooking, and then with furnaces as well. And then you can see with the number of projects how that breaks out. And then on our mobile source funding portfolio, similar breakout. Here we have a fairly big chunk going towards technology demonstration projects. The biggest one there, funding hovercraft/tugboat demonstration project. This gives you an idea of the distribution of recommended awards. Now, some of these awards would have benefits throughout the basin, but this gives you just an idea of where these specific projects are located. And you can see we have projects distributed throughout our district. In terms of potential emission reductions that we hope to achieve from these projects, you can see we have our total share on stationaries, up to 38 tons per year of NOx, for mobile up to 48 tons per NOx. So that's fairly significant. And we also broke out the greenhouse gas co-benefits that we expect to see from these projects. So our recommended actions are to execute contracts for these emission reduction projects, to reallocate any funding that becomes available should a project be unexecuted, or if there's reduced cost for a particular project, so we could reallocate that to additional projects. And then to authorize reimbursement to the general fund for administrative costs for up to 6.25%. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And Dr. Burke, if I could add, as Dr. Reese explained, this was staff's review. I think staff was tremendously effective at leveraging, at looking at funding contributions. And as a result of that, we do have some additional funds that are available. And there are two projects, there are a few projects that we'd like to further review. I think one in particular in Coachella Valley is worthy of further consideration. And I'd like to go over that with staff and come back to you on recommendation with that.
Well, Ms. Reese, I don't ever remember you presenting to the admin committee even before, have you?
I don't know if I've been at admin before. I've presented at other committees. This might be my first time at admin.
Yeah, I think you've been before admin. You did a good job today.
Oh, thank
You
you.
did a good job today. Mr. Nasser, you can never satisfy everybody when you have a pot of money like this and we go through probably one of the more transparent processes with two committees who evaluate these things. But I do applaud your efforts into looking into to see if there's additional funds we can find to do any additional project. I think would be worthy. Are there any comments by any of my colleagues?
I have one question. The various different pots of money that this is coming out of, has anyone directly quantified that yet? Obviously you have, but are you prepared to state right now, this is how much is coming out of this pot, and this is how much is coming out of that pot today?
Yes.
Sujata Jane's just chomping at the bit to answer that question if you would like, Dr. Parker.
Yeah.
Dr. Parker, we do.
All righty, go right ahead.
We do track the balances, and so yes, we've been working closely with Sarah's team to ensure that the funds that are coming out of those pots are being used.
Sujata, do we have the specific
Okay.
numbers?
Dr. Parker, there's a chart on page 9 of the board letter that shows how much is coming out of the various funds, special funds for this particular board letter.
Page 9?
Yes, 9 of the board letter. Table 4.
Sujata, if you could.
And also each contract is telling you which funds are funding those contracts.
So that there's a total of then 6 different pots to make up the 46 million that this is coming out of. But my question was, originally we had said that was 61 million, and that's what I was getting at. Now we're saying that we're only funding 46, so obviously there's, $15 million that is not there. So my question was, collectively, of this 46 million, which I had seen before, I saw this chart, but it didn't tell me what was the amount where the 61 was and how much it was within each one of those particular categories. I hope I wasn't too complicated when I stated that.
No, I understood it too. And if I'm the common denominator.
So Dr. Parker, the original 61 million, there was one pot of money, like you can see Rule 1118. When the original board letter was approved, it asked for 18 million, and so I think that's where Sarah's team is looking. There's extra money over there that potentially for future contracts or where they think it.
evaluated and spent.
Well, the only reason I asked that because we seem to be so precise that there was 61 million. So my question really is, if there was 61 million, what makes up that 61 million? I understand that we've only going to award contracts for 46, but, you know, my question was, how could we know, if we know there's 61 million, where's the 61 million?
So, for example, we have a mitigation fund from Rule 1111. Rule 1111, the funding amount that was originally anticipated was what, Sujata, 11 million? 15. So that's one of the sources. That we also have other penalty funds, and there are other funds. Can you please identify those specific funds and the amounts that made it up?
For which we are not pulling right now.
Just for the total pot.
So there was, like Wayne said, Dr. Parker, Rule 1111. Originally, in the January board letter, there was 15 million that we were going to pull from there. Also, there was another part, like say the Fund 36, which, you know, we are keeping some of the money because we use that for funding like the Google contract, etc.
But that's the BP ARCO settlement?
No, it's the Rule 1309.
1309?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's about $4 million. We know in the long term, we use that funding for the Google contract. So we kind of are not using that one for right now. And also, like I said, 1118, originally, you know, we had more money in the board letter in January. And so I think it's a little restrictive, so Sarah and I will look at it and see if there's any other projects down the line if they want to fund out of that.
Does that add up
Okay.
to 61?
I could. No, what she just said doesn't add up to 60. I don't want to spend more time I was just saying when we use those kind of numbers, it would be good for the future to tell us exactly where that is so that we can then look and see exactly what it is that we're talking about. You know, if we're estimating numbers or it's actual monies that we have already there, exactly what. That was the reason for my question. But you can do that later. We don't need to take the time. I understand that we're saying we have 46 million now, and that's how much we're going to basically give out.
So, Dr. Parker, we can add that information to the packet for the board meeting in January.
Okay. I think it would be helpful.
I suggest we do that because he's right on target here. We should know where the 61 is. We know what we're trying to approve this morning, but when he brought it up like that, it gave me a bad feeling. You know, this needs to be identified for the public so that they understand where all the money came from. We're only using a portion of it now, but if you put it in a board letter to the full board, I think it'll be fine.
That's exactly what we'll do.
Great.
Okay. Okay, can I get a motion on this item?
We have a public comment on this item, Mr. Chair. Harvey Etter, and then Gregory.
Oh, okay.
Harvey?
Okay, Mr. Etter.
Hello, I'm Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition. We put in a proposal for $61 million as part of the Solar New Deal. We heard in the beginning that it was going to only, and included among the solar electric trucks, not the low NOx with the PM and all these death counts you got, but zero emission solar new trucks included, and been talking to staff for over a year about this. BYD so they can produce 5,000 Class 8 trucks a year. And they were telling me like a couple years ago they could do it in 6 or 8 months. Now they're saying they need 12 to 14 months. Can do in solar. What I was told is that we're only being evaluated for solar, for the electric offsets, which are very little. and this has been a repeated issue between me and Dr. Fine before the board in the open, that we have, if we're going for the trucks or EVs, we got to get the credits from transportation. This proposal was purged, okay? The issue of legibility came up, but not until like a month ago or so. Kept calling, trying to get into the decision-making to go to these 4 different groups and whatnot. This is dirty pool. Other thing I see you got down here, it's 18% of your spending over, almost $8 million. It's going to multifamily affordable housing. Is this low income? I haven't seen these proposals. Want to get access to all of this, and we're opposed to this. And there needs to be a comprehensive plan for the district to convert immediately to solar, as per the state, federal, and international studies saying that we've got big problems now, that the rate of increase of climate change is quicker than what we thought, and we've got to deal with it. And this goes back to the 12 plan and comments by Dr. Fine that we weren't concerned about climate change. And I have heard from other senior staff that this district does not have to concern itself with AB 32. That's wrong, and it's not legal. And you do have to concern yourself, and this has to be dealt with now. This is bullarchy, BS and malarkey. Thank you.
Gregory?
Mr. Bay? Bay?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I would hate to think that some of our staff, or one of our staff, or a friend of one of our staff had said anything like that. So after this meeting, would you take a few minutes and talk to Mr. Etter and see who indicated that to them, that to him? And then if he's willing to provide their name, chat with that person and see if that's what they said. Because
12 for the plan, and recently last week, John Kraus.
After the meeting.
I've got to go to the local business.
Hey, Harvey, after the meeting,
I got some.
okay? We'll be through here in a minute, and you and Bay can get together. And then chat with Dr. Fine, and let me know what your conclusion is on that. Okay. That concludes the public testimony on this item.
No,
Do we have
one more speaker.
Do we have any more?
Speaker.
One more speaker? Who do we have?
Gregory still up?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you there.
That's okay. My name is Greg Sutliff, and I work for Alcal Specialty Contracting. I'm the Director of Home Services. And we've currently got 2 proposals in front of the board I don't normally like to read my comments, but they're somewhat specific, so I'm actually going to read instead of trying to speak extemporaneously. We've 2 identical proposals under consideration by the AQMD for the RFP to provide energy efficiency upgrades for homeowners in the Coachella and San Fernando Valleys. And these projects will directly and quantifiably improve the air quality in the region through NOx, VOC, and particulate matter reductions by reducing the energy consumption of heating and cooling these homes in these communities. I appreciate the efforts of all the staff, the energy board and its staff are putting into this appropriation, and most importantly, the fact you've all devoted your careers to improving the air quality of the region and directly impacting the lives and the health of the communities and the people who live in the areas served by your efforts. So thank you for that. It's truly, this is society's work, and it's very important. I would like to reiterate the value of retrofitting of existing buildings to not just the occupants of those homes, but also to the air and environmental quality of the region itself. Whether it is the reduction in greenhouse gases, particulate matter that is a trigger to severe health issues in vulnerable populations, or simply reducing the cost of heating and cooling homes and leaving homeowners with more money in their monthly budgets, residential energy efficiency retrofits, like what we've proposed, are in these communities directly impact those communities. So much so that the last large retrofit project that was completed in 2016 was adopted as an official pollution control measure by the AQMD. Additionally, ALCAL has the support of environmental justice groups, constituent representative support from Senators Hertzberg, Senator Stern, Assemblyman Garcia, and this is also supported. All this work is supported by the building science in this in this particular subject matter. It's a least cost measure that creates more energy efficient existing buildings across the state.
Are you? Excuse me for interrupting, but are you trying to talk us out of giving you this grant?
No, I'm trying to talk you into giving us.
I'm trying to figure out what the purpose of the testimony is.
Hotel Valley, so.
Okay, so
Well advised.
just keep going, just call it, okay. Well, I didn't realize that was part of, that was the project that you were speaking about. So in that case, then I will simply say thank you for that, and I will leave it at that.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And Sean?
Do we have any other public testimony?
Yes, one more. Sean Bravery?
Sean Garvey.
Garvey.
With Grant Farm. And I'm here to talk you out of giving us our grants. Just kidding. I wanted to commend staff here. My firm routinely works on developing advanced energy and transportation and manufacturing projects here in California and nationally. We've participated in some $5 billion in project value over the last 10 years. And we were particularly excited by this RFP. I want to commend staff on taking a series of very complicated different funding sources and clearly communicating the needs of the agency and the public in the singular RFP. It was a highly efficient way, I think, to handle what was a complicated set of financing sources. The clarity and the communication and outreach that was done was honorable. We, of course, routinely work with the California Energy Commission, other air districts, and the Air Resources Board, and I want to extend our gratitude to that. Also, the responsiveness of staff to answering questions for additional clarity. We placed a number of calls. We've got very informed answers to important questions. There were some additions made to the RFP in order to make it more clear to the general public as a result, and we're grateful for that. I did want to, with the remaining minute, just acknowledge several of the projects that we worked on. The Rialto project, which had a groundbreaking last week. This is a renewable natural gas, takes 1,000 tons per day of organic material from Los Angeles and converts that to negative carbon renewable natural gas for fueling 200 to 300 waste management natural gas vehicles. It's a groundbreaking project. It's the largest project of its kind in the United States, and we're very, very proud of our participation in that. So you are aware, the capital investment on a project like that is about $110 million. Demonstrating a viable business model without public incentives at this early stage in these technologies is impossible. And so these types of funds make it possible to do a groundbreaking and historic project like that. I also want to speak to the Change project. At the time of the application, Change was proposing 350 all-electric Class 5 vehicles with FedEx and Ryder and UPS. Since that time, there have been many, many other orders. This is an exciting development. The speed with which major distributors are adopting and are prepared to adopt all electric Class 5 vehicles is absolutely amazing. We have seen in the last 12 months a flip on this issue that is very, very significant. Should I stop?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. But anyways, thank you, and I hope I didn't talk you out of our grades.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'll make a
You were
motion.
right on the cusp.
Before anybody loses a grant, I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to move forward with this item, with the items that were spoken about adding to the letter going to the full board.
Second?
Would the clerk call the roll?
Member Knight?
Aye.
Dr. Parker?
Aye.
Dr. Burke?
And keep working on that.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Mr. Nastrick,
Yes, sir.
I don't understand how we select the people that review these projects. You know, these projects are funded with our money to further our mission. Now, it just so happens I agree with all the projects on this. But it was, who appoints these people?
So we ask, our senior management team asked the various panelists to participate. So staff does it.
No, the question was, who appoints these people?
So we asked internal staff to participate in the panel, and each of our panels also had an external participant, either from CARB or from EPA.
Do you appoint them?
Well, we asked folks to participate.
Somebody has got to appoint these people. Who is it?
So the deputies execute the direction. As far as the assistant deputies, such as Dr. Reese, she can ask her staff and she can ask others. So she actually is the one that's delegated the authority to select those staff.
So you appoint these people?
I suppose.
No, you either do or you don't, you know.
But there are other
appoint these
committees, Dr. Berg.
And I'm not talking to you, Wayne.
Yes, sir.
At this moment. So what basis do you use to select these people?
Yeah, if they have their experience in the district, if their technical background, their familiarity with the types of projects that we're
Is there a guideline that the district has put together for you to use to select these people?
I don't believe there's a hard and fast guideline. We look at their background, look at their familiarity with the types of technologies we're evaluating.
So you have all the latitude to select who you want to?
In a manner. And I also, take direction, obviously, from Wayne and others.
I think that this district needs a guideline for selecting these panels. No offense to you, but if we are giving away this amount of money to people, we ought to have input, a direct input on where these projects go. And even though the credentials of the people who are on your panel were impeccable, I have no problem with that. But we need people who understand our mission and who know our direction. So, I think I'd like in the next 60 days to get a proposed guideline back on that, so I can present that to the board. Okay?
We'll work on it.
Thank you very much. So we are at item number 16. Jason Lowe.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Burke and members of the committee. I'm Jason Lowe, the Assistant Deputy Executive Officer, Science, Technology Advancement, Monitoring, and Analysis. So back in January, the board recognized over $7 million for the Rule 1180 funds, which is for the installation and operation of air monitoring stations, community air monitoring stations near refineries. This action is to transfer and appropriate just under $2 million into the STA budget for the initial purchases of equipment and staffing to implement this program. Also, there is one item to amend a contract with FluxSense, which is our optical remote sensing program, with an additional $110,000 for the community scales grant. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
No questions here, and I have no public comment. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Okay. Is there any questions by my colleagues? I was on a rant here in the satellite meeting.
Jason, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
these are to put monitors near refineries, is that correct?
Yes, in communities nearby refineries.
Now, are they going to be remote reporting to whom? Oh, to where?
So it's reporting to us. It's a program that we get to initiate as our staff at South Coast. So as far as like the data, it'll be transmitted to us. There's a plan to work with the communities and also have this data visually displayed on our website.
Are they going to be reported on a real-time basis, or do we have to have someone to go by and collect the data and bring it back?
It will depend on the pollutant. The idea is to, if it can be measured appropriately within the criteria for like detection capability, then that's what we'll push to have that technology. There are some types of measurements, such as metals, that sometimes will have to be, as you may know from Paramount and from Compton, that need to still be done by laboratory analysis, so that will not be real time. So it will depend on the pollutant that we're measuring.
Any further questions?
None here, and I made a motion earlier to go ahead and move this item.
Second?
Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Bernard.
Aye.
Dr. Parker.
Aye.
Dr. Burke.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Mr. Alatorre,
Well, I look a little bit
you
better,
come to the adult
different than
tape. Mr.
Alatorre.
Alatorre.
No,
come
you got
to
me,
the
Dr.
adult tape.
Burke. I'm sorry. This is Fabian Wesson.
Oh, that's better yet.
That's what I said.
Okay.
That's what I said. Good morning, Dr. Burke and members of the committee. I'm here to present on item number 17, recommendation to appoint members to SCAQMD Environmental Justice Advisory Group. The mission of EJAG is to advise and assist SCAQMD in protecting and improving public health in our most impacted communities through the reduction and prevention of air pollution. Dr. Liu recommends the individuals below, and Dr. Burke has reviewed and also recommends that the following individuals be approved to serve on this advisory group. Mark Ng would represent Orange County. Mark Ng is a financial planner who founded Mangus Finance. Mark has a bachelor's degree from Pepperdine University and a master's degree from Columbia University. Mark is focused on helping charities and nonprofits in minority communities, especially Asian Americans and students. He focuses philanthropy through his professional organization, Asian Industry B2B, serving as development director of a Camp Pendleton military charity, Words of Comfort, Hope and Promise, serving as ambassador of autism charities like Talk About Curing Autism and OC Autism. He also volunteers his time and his organization resources to Santa Claus Inc., Hope Through Housing, Boy Scouts of America, and Asians for Miracle Merrill Matches.
He still has time for this?
And he still has time for us. Our second individual would be Humberto Lugo, who would represent the Coachella Valley region. Humberto has been an active participant of the EJCP Advisory Council for about 3 years, and we thought it'd be a great asset for EJAG. He's the lead coordinator of the Ivan Network, a community monitoring network spearheaded by Committee Civico Valle. He leads the environmental task force meetings in Coachella, bringing together governmental agencies and nonprofit organizations to discuss environmental concerns in the Coachella region. He also has a history of community organizing and is an advocate for environmental justice policy. I'm open to any questions.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Any comments or additions by any board member? Then if not, I will accept a motion to approve the appointment of these members.
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Bernard.
Aye.
Dr. Parker.
Aye.
Dr. Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Okay, are you doing 18 also?
Yes, please. This is item 18 is a recommendation to appoint a member to our Environmental Justice Community Partnership Advisory Council. The mission of the Advisory Council is to provide input to ensure that the partnership programs are relevant and address the air quality concerns of diverse communities throughout our region. Members shall represent a variety of backgrounds and expertise, including but not limited to representatives of environmental justice, community, business, and health organizations. Dr. Burke has reviewed and recommends the following individual be approved to serve on this advisory council. Valerie Gonzalez would represent Los Angeles County. Valerie is a clean transportation equity specialist at Center for Sustainable Energy. She has helped administer outreach and education of transportation electrification programs for almost 4 years, including the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project, Southern California Edison's Clean Fuel Rewards Program, and Charge Ready Home Installation Rebate, also the Clean Vehicle Assistance Program. She's a coalition member of Repower Los Angeles Coalition, the outreach chair for the East Side Soul Coalition, a member of the SCE Business and Community Partnerships Working Group, and a member of the Greater Fontana Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. She grew up in Echo Park and currently resides in Los Angeles. She has a bachelor's degree from Richmond American International University in London, England, and a master's degree in international environmental policy from UCSD. And I'm open for any questions.
Very impressive, very impressive. Any questions by any of my colleagues?
None here, I'll move.
Accept a motion? Okay, we have a
Second.
motion and a second. Will the clerk call the roll?
Dr. Bernard?
Aye.
Dr. Parker?
Aye.
Dr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Item 19.
Item 19 is a recommendation to appoint members to SCAQMD Young Leaders Advisory Council. The mission of YLAC is for SCAQMD to educate and engage young adults regarding the region's clean air issue, and at the same time garner from them greater insight into their generation's concerns, values, and priorities about air quality to their peers and others. This is the first advisory group that seeks to engage this generation specifically and to benefit from their passion, commitment, and urgency to help improve the air. And it also consists of no more than 20 members. YLAC reflects the ethnic and geographical diversity of the South Coast Air Basin. Members shall represent a variety of backgrounds and expertise, including but not limited to representatives of environmental justice, community organizations, schools and universities, business and health organizations. Dr. Burke has reviewed and recommends that the following individuals be approved to serve on this council. Kimberly Dong would represent Orange County. She's a PhD student in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at the University of California, Irvine. She received her bachelor's degree from UCLA in Atmospheric, Oceanic, and Environmental Studies. She is heavily involved in STEM outreach, science communication, and science policy through programs such as the Mazayan Science and Technology Policy Fellowship at the National Academies and the AGU Voices for Science and Resilience Dialogues. Our second candidate, Leanne Tran, would represent Riverside County. Leanne is a second-year pre-business student with a minor in urban and environmental policy. She works as an assistant for the Science, Law, and Humanities Department at the UCR Extension Center and is president of the Undergraduate Business Association. She's also a GCAP intern and hopes her efforts in the Our Garden will help create a safe and inviting space while helping alleviate community issues such as food deserts and food insecurity. Our third candidate is Ana Gonzalez, who would represent the San Bernardino County. Ana earned her associate degree from the San Bernardino Valley College. She works for Rialto Unified School District as a district parent center assistant and previously as an instructional aide for special education and intervention specialist for English learners. Honor recently received major recognitions from Assembly Member Eloise Reyes as a 30 under 30 leader for the service and advocacy in her district. Anna also received the Woman of Distinction Award from the Chicano Latino Caucus of San Bernardino County. Educating and empowering the youth, parents, and marginalized communities are her priority. Our fourth and last candidate is Myra Jackson, who would represent San Bernardino County. Myra is currently a Yoruba Valley resident who currently works as a campaign consultant in Riverside County. She's also a board member of the Healthy Heritage Movement, which seeks to eliminate health disparities experienced by the African American community. Myra originally hails from Ecuador, where she got her bachelor's degree from the Escuela Politécnica Nacional de Ecuador. Myra has previously volunteered with CCAEG, which is the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice. It's our last candidate.
I took an extension course from that school. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't note that you and Mr. Alatorre have done an excellent job in bringing the quality of people to these committees. I had looked at some of these resumes, man, and some of these people are so smart, it's absolutely scary.
I know that
but it's the kind of people we need. So no motion, a motion is required for this. So I will look to Mr. Benoit for a motion.
Move approval.
And Mr. Parker, for Dr. Parker, for a second.
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Benoit?
Aye.
Dr. Parker?
Aye.
Dr. Burke?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
And we have item 20 is a receive and file.
Mr. Chair, we have a speaker card on item 20, Harvey Etter.
On 20?
Yep. And
on 20.
And on general public comment.
On 20?
Yep.
I'm confused. We have a speaker slip on 20?
Yes.
Or 19?
On item number 20.
Okay, Mr. Etter.
Hello, my name's Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition in reference to activities of the local government and small business assistance advisory group and of the committee of the board. It's having a meeting right after this. And I brought this up, that they should make as a top priority and in their goals and be directed by the administrative committee of the board now that they look at and work with existing efforts for public solar power through CCAs and solar co-ops of other public solar models, municipalities, regions. This is happening right now in the district. The Clean Power Alliance Southern California's got like 30 cities and unincorporated LA and Ventura counties. They're talking with Orange, and there's been communication interactions with both Riverside, San Bernardino, Chochella, and CCAs. This is the one place to deal with this, and it should be made a priority of this committee, and it should be directed by this committee, administrative committee of the board, to do this in their goals and their proceedings. We've been working on this. Would like to work with you in the future as well, and I know there's many other groups like the Sierra Club that have been active in this as well. So, you have any questions or?
No, this duly noted by Mr. Alatorre and Ms. Weston.
Yes, it is.
And by the chair of that committee.
And I think it should be brought to the board, from this committee to the board as well. For board's direction.
Let that go with the chairman of the committee.
Okay,
Well, that's his decision.
all right.
Okay?
It's
A mo-
also my,
Do we
our
have a motion on this
recommendation.
side?
There's no motion recorded.
No motion on this side. Okay.
Yeah, we can get all public comments.
Oh,
Second.
all right.
20, we're on 21 now.
Yep.
Anybody got any other business there at the district? We have none here, so are you going to speak on this, Harvey?
No, he's going to speak on public comment, item number 22.
Oh, okay. So we have nobody speaking on other business, but we do have one public comment, number 22.
Yes. Harvey Etter. Go ahead, Harvey.
Okay, hello, my name's Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition and for over 90% of the population that supports solar energy and rapid as possible conversion. Public solar's the way to do it without conflicts of interest, the fossil fuel, investor-owned utility models. Requesting that comments that we made in item number 10 be amended and also be approved by this group, that the letter that's being written on natural gas as a toxicity, that this discussion that we had and that was brought up at the last administrative meeting where it got your support, and the issue was renewable natural gas. And that should specifically direct head of health affairs with the district, and CARB should do this as well, but the district to specifically look at premature deaths from so-called renewable natural gas from waste, landfill, sewage, feedlots, where it's spreading and being put into the distribution system. For instance, for the record, there's 200 buses that we tried to get to go solar electric, but they're renewable natural gas. They put them from a landfill in Texas into the 1,000 miles, ship them to California, and it's drug-resistant antibiotics. There's a body count there. CDC, it's in the Solar New Deal and the 40 exhibits from the 16 plan that CDC said 10 years ago there was 30 to 40,000 premature deaths from renewable from drug-resistant antibiotics a year, and those numbers have gone up like 10 times as much from the World Health Organization. So this has got to be studied, and it's got to be put into the cost of this, dirty, toxic, carcinogenic gas. And it's also against state laws. 53,002B in the Health and Safety Code from 91 said it's state policy.
Harvey, Mr. Etter?
Yes?
I gave you an extra minute.
Well.
So you're over your time.
Oh.
And my district council didn't keep time for me, so I kept time myself.
We actually, Chair, I'm sorry, we have a clock running here in the CC8. He still has 30 seconds on it. So there is a clock running.
Still has 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Harvey. Let's go by their clock.
Kind of took my wind out, but Roberti in 81, 53,002B. You cannot import fossil fuels into the state. 90% of our natural gas is imported. It's against state law, state policy. This has been purged from that law book, the blue paperback book, California air pollution laws. And it's not been in there from 81 or now, and it's been purged as this policy has, and this is big, important stuff.
That's all the public comment cards I have.
Do we have any other testimony and public comment there at the district?
None here.
If not, I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday. Have a great New Year's. And I'll see you next year on July 11th, 2019 at 10 a.m. It's our regular meeting time. And that adjourns today's meeting.
It's January 11th. It's January.